I was sitting in Sophia's BMW outside my apartment after what I thought had been a perfect evening together. We had just finished dinner at our favorite little Italian place, and I was feeling so grateful for the 8 months we had been together. Then she went completely silent, gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. When she finally spoke, her words shattered my world. "Jessica, I think we should break up. My coworkers are right. You're just not in my league." I stared at her in complete shock, unable to process what I had just heard. Before I tell you how her shallow coworkers destroyed their own careers while I got the last laugh drop, a comment telling me where you are watching from, and smash that like button if you have ever been judged unfairly by people who barely know you. But what happened in the next 5 hours will prove that karma works faster than anyone imagined. Let me give you the background so you understand how devastating this moment was. I am Jessica, 29 years old, and I work as a marketing coordinator for a nonprofit organization called Hope Foundation. My job involves helping at-risk youth find educational opportunities, and while it does not pay much, about $45,000 per year, it fills my soul with purpose. I live in a cozy studio apartment downtown and drive a reliable Honda Civic that I bought used in 2018. My life might not look glamorous from the outside, but I have always believed that authentic connections matter more than material possessions. Sophia Chen was everything I thought I was not sophisticated enough to attract. At 31, she worked as an investment banker at the prestigious firm Goldman & Associates, pulling in over $120,000 annually. She lived in a luxury downtown condominium with floor-to-ceiling windows and drove a sleek black BMW that probably cost more than I made in a year. When we first met, I was honestly intimidated by her success and polish. Our love story began 8 months ago in the most unexpected way. I was sitting in my favorite coffee shop grading volunteer applications for our youth mentoring program when this stunning woman approached my table. She had been watching me work and was curious about what I was doing. When I explained my job, her eyes lit up in a way that surprised me. "I have been so focused on climbing the corporate ladder that I forgot there were people like you making a real difference in the world," she had said, sliding into the chair across from me. "Would you tell me more about your work over dinner sometime?" That first date led to a whirlwind romance that felt like something out of a movie. Sophia was drawn to what she called my authentic spirit and said I helped her remember what really mattered in life. She would often tell me that after long days dealing with demanding clients and office politics, spending time with me felt like coming home to herself. I had always felt slightly insecure about our income difference, but Sophia consistently reassured me that money meant nothing compared to genuine connection. "You make me feel real again, Jessica," she would say when I worried about not being able to afford expensive restaurants or designer clothes. "I have plenty of money, but you have something I lost along the way, a pure heart." Our relationship worked because we balanced each other perfectly. I provided emotional support and helped Sophia reconnect with simple pleasures like picnics in the park and watching sunrise from my apartment rooftop. She offered practical advice about career advancement and financial planning, always encouraging my nonprofit work, rather than suggesting I pursue higher-paying opportunities. The first crack in our perfect bubble came 3 weeks ago at Sophia's company holiday party. She had been nervous about introducing me to her colleagues, but I assumed it was normal workplace anxiety. The moment we walked into the elegant ballroom, I understood her concern. Her coworkers, particularly 3 individuals named Amber, Crystal, and Trent, looked at me like I was wearing rags to a royal wedding. Amber, a sharp-featured woman in an expensive suit, made subtle but cutting comments about my quaint little job helping children and my vintage dress sense. Crystal, her equally polished sidekick, asked pointed questions about my education and career aspirations with thinly veiled condescension. Trent, a pompous senior associate, made jokes about do-gooders and bleeding hearts that were clearly directed at me. Throughout the evening, I noticed Sophia becoming increasingly uncomfortable, but her defense of me was weak at best. When Amber made a particularly nasty comment about people who choose passion over profit, Sophia simply changed the subject instead of standing up for me. I felt humiliated and out of place, questioning whether I belonged in her world. The past 2 weeks had been different between us. Sophia started working longer hours and attending more office social events. our intimate phone conversations became shorter and more superficial. She began making small criticisms about things that had never bothered her. Before, my apartment was cozy instead of charming, my car was practical instead of reliable, and my career was admirable instead of inspiring. I could feel her pulling away, but I assumed it was work stress. I never imagined that her colleagues had been systematically poisoning her mind against me, or that she would be weak enough to let their shallow judgments destroy what we had built together. Sitting in that car listening to Sophia tell me I was not good enough for her felt like being struck by lightning. Her exact words are burned into my memory. My coworkers made me realize some things. We're from different worlds, Jessica. You are sweet, but I need someone who matches my ambition and lifestyle. I stared at her perfectly applied makeup and designer outfit, seeing a stranger where my girlfriend used to be. Are you seriously breaking up with me because of what your coworkers think? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Her response was even more devastating. It is not just them. I have been thinking about our future. What would we tell people? How would you fit into my professional circle? I need someone who can elevate my status, not drag it down. The cruel honesty of her words cut deeper than any knife. This woman who had claimed to love my authenticity was now telling me that my genuine nature was an embarrassment. I got out of her car without another word, too shocked to even cry, and watched her drive away without looking back. Inside my apartment, the dam finally burst. I collapsed on my couch and sobbed until my chest ached, questioning everything I thought I knew about love and self-worth. The woman who had made me feel beautiful and valuable had just told me I was not enough, never had been enough, and never would be enough for her world. I called my best friend Maya, who had been skeptical of Sophia from the beginning. That shallow witch just threw away 8 months for those pretentious people. Maya raged when I told her what had happened. Jessica, you are worth 10 of her and 100 of those office vultures. But Maya's support could not quiet the voices of self-doubt that Sophia's words had awakened. I found myself looking around my modest apartment with new eyes, seeing it as cramped rather than cozy. I thought about my Honda Civic and wondered if Sophia had been embarrassed every time I picked her up. Had she been lying about loving my work, secretly wishing I had chosen a more prestigious career path? 2 hours after the breakup, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Alex Chen, Sophia's younger brother, who had been my friend since college. Alex worked at a tech startup and had always been supportive of our relationship, often telling me that I made his sister happier than he had ever seen her. Jessica, I overheard Sophia on the phone with her coworker, Amber. He said without preamble, there is something you need to know. What Alex told me next changed everything I thought I understood about the situation. Amber had been pursuing Sophia romantically for months, using increasingly manipulative tactics to break us up. She had been planting seeds of doubt about our compatibility, questioning whether I was worthy of Sophia's success, and suggesting that their relationship would be more appropriate both personally and professionally. Crystal and Trent had been supporting Amber's pursuit, not out of genuine concern for Sophia, but because they wanted to curry favor with someone they saw as a rising star in the company. They had coordinated their attacks on me, deliberately highlighting every class difference and making me feel as unwelcome as possible at company events. The night of the holiday party was planned. Alex explained, his voice filled with disgust. They asked you those questions about money and career specifically to make you uncomfortable and to plant ideas in Sophia's head about your so-called inadequacy. He sent me screenshots of their office group chat, and reading their messages made me physically sick. They had discussed my outfit, my job, and my background like I was some kind of social experiment. Amber had written, "Does not it bother anyone else that Sophia is dating someone so?" Beneath her standards, Crystal had replied, "Someone needs to open her eyes before she ruins her reputation." The most disgusting part was discovering that Amber had been systematically manipulating Sophia's insecurities about image and status. She had convinced Sophia that dating me would hurt her chances for promotion, that clients would not respect her if they knew about her charity case girlfriend, and that she deserved someone who could enhance her social standing. Alex revealed that the coworkers had spent weeks working on Sophia, exploiting her natural anxiety about professional image and slowly convincing her that our love was somehow shameful or limiting. They had turned her genuine feelings for me into a source of embarrassment and social anxiety. The revelation that this was not about my inherent worth but about workplace manipulation and romantic jealousy changed my entire perspective. I was not dealing with a girlfriend who had fallen out of love. I was dealing with someone who had been psychologically manipulated by colleagues with their own selfish agenda. But what hurt most was realizing that Sophia had been weak enough to let peer pressure override 8 months of genuine connection. She had chosen their approval over our relationship, and that said everything I needed to know about her character when tested under pressure. Armed with the truth about what had really happened, I decided that if they wanted to play professional games, I would show them how the game was really played. I started by researching Goldman & Associates' company policies on workplace conduct and harassment. What I found was a comprehensive set of rules about maintaining professional boundaries and preventing personal relationship interference. I spent the next hour documenting everything Alex had shared with me, the screenshots of their group chat, the recording he had made of overhearing their phone conversation, and a detailed timeline of their coordinated harassment campaign. Then I composed the most professional email of my life to their human resources department. Subject: workplace harassment and personal relationship interference. I wrote, I am writing to report a serious violation of your company's harassment policies involving employees, Amber Richardson, Crystal Martinez, and Trent Williams. These individuals have engaged in a coordinated campaign to interfere with and destroy my personal relationship with your employee, Sophia Chen, through psychological manipulation and targeted harassment. I attached all the evidence and detailed how their behavior violated multiple company policies regarding professional conduct harassment and creating a hostile work environment. I focused on the professional implications rather than the personal pain, presenting myself as someone seeking appropriate resolution through proper channels. Within 2 hours of sending that email, my phone rang. Sarah Martinez, the HR director, had not only read my complaint, but had been waiting for exactly this type of evidence. Ms. Roberts, I want you to know that this is not the first complaint we have received about Amber Richardson's behavior, she said. We have been building a case against the toxic culture in that department for months. Sarah explained that Amber had a history of manipulating colleagues' personal relationships to advance her own interests, both romantic and professional. Previous complaints had lacked sufficient evidence, but my documentation provided the missing pieces they needed to take decisive action. The HR investigation moved with stunning speed. Alex provided additional testimony as an internal witness, and other employees came forward with their own stories about Amber's manipulation tactics. The evidence painted a picture of systematic workplace harassment that had been destroying morale and professional relationships for over a year. Within 24 hours, the consequences began rolling out. Amber was terminated immediately for workplace harassment and violation of professional conduct policies. Crystal received a written warning and was required to attend mandatory sensitivity training. Trent was demoted from his senior position and would be closely monitored going forward. But the most satisfying moment came exactly 5 hours after our breakup. My phone rang, and Sophia's name appeared on the screen. Her voice was frantic when I answered. Jessica, I heard what happened at work. Oh my God, I am so sorry. I realize now that I was completely manipulated. Her desperate apology continued for several minutes, explaining how she now understood that Amber and the others had deliberately targeted our relationship. She begged for forgiveness and asked if we could meet to talk about rebuilding what we had lost. I was stupid, she said, her voice breaking with tears. I let them get in my head and convince me that status mattered more than love. Can we please talk about fixing this? My response was calm and final. Sophia, you chose their approval over our relationship. That choice tells me everything I need to know about who you are when things get difficult. Word of the harassment investigation spread quickly through Sophia's professional network, and her reputation was damaged by association with the toxic behavior. Meanwhile, my professional handling of the situation earned respect from the business community. The story was covered by the local business journal as a case study in workplace harassment and appropriate response protocols. the publicity brought unexpected opportunities to my door. Goldman and Associates offered me a consulting position, helping them rebuild their workplace culture. Multiple other companies reached out seeking diversity and inclusion consulting services. My nonprofit received a surge of donations from people who admired how I had stood up for myself professionally. Most importantly, I discovered that standing up for myself had opened doors I never knew existed. By refusing to accept treatment that was beneath my dignity, I had demonstrated a level of professional integrity that the business community valued and wanted to support. The immediate aftermath of Sophia's desperate phone call was both satisfying and sad. Over the next week, she made multiple attempts at reconciliation, sending expensive flower arrangements, designer gifts, and handwritten letters of apology. Each gesture felt more desperate than the last, and none of them addressed the fundamental issue she had shown me exactly who she was when faced with choosing between love and social approval. Maya supported my decision to maintain firm boundaries. You deserve someone who chooses you, especially when it is difficult, not someone who abandons you the moment their friends disapprove. She reminded me during one of our many post-breakup conversations. The professional growth that followed was beyond anything I could have imagined. My new consulting business focused on workplace relationship boundaries and harassment prevention took off immediately. Companies throughout the city wanted to hire the woman who had professionally dismantled a harassment campaign while maintaining her dignity and integrity. I was invited to speak at business conferences about personal integrity in professional settings. Harvard Business Review featured my story in an article about maintaining authentic values in competitive work environments. The nonprofit sector embraced me as an example of how purpose-driven professionals could command respect in any industry. 6 months later, I was thriving in ways I had never expected. My expanded career had opened doors to opportunities I never knew existed, and I was earning nearly double my previous salary through consulting work. More importantly, I had met Taylor, a high school teacher whose values aligned perfectly with mine and who admired my authenticity rather than trying to change it. Sophia, meanwhile, struggled with the long-term consequences of her choices. The harassment scandal had damaged her reputation within her professional circle, making it difficult to advance her career or find dating prospects within her industry. She was forced to examine her own values and priorities, beginning therapy, to understand how she had allowed peer pressure to override her genuine feelings. 1 month after the breakup, Sophia appeared at a fundraising event for my nonprofit. In front of a room full of donors and community leaders, she delivered a public apology that was both humbling and revealing. "I let status and fear control my decisions," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was too weak to stand up to people who did not have my best interests at heart." I appreciated her honesty and the courage it took to make a public apology, but I also maintained my boundaries. "I appreciate your apology, Sophia, but trust takes time to rebuild. I need to see consistent change in your values, not just regret about consequences." A year later, my life had been completely transformed. My consulting business was established as one of the most respected firms in the city for workplace culture development. My relationship with Taylor had grown into something beautiful and stable, built on mutual respect and shared values. My nonprofit work had expanded internationally, with speaking engagements around the world about authenticity and professional integrity. Sophia remained single, focusing on personal growth and therapy to understand how she had lost sight of what truly mattered. According to Alex, she deeply regretted losing me, but had learned to respect the boundaries I had established. There were occasional indirect attempts at contact, but I maintained my position that actions speak louder than apologies. The experience taught me invaluable lessons about recognizing people's true character when they face pressure. Sophia's reaction under stress revealed that she valued external validation more than authentic connection, and that insight protected me from investing further in someone who would always choose perception over reality when forced to decide. My story inspired other harassment victims to speak up about their experiences, leading to policy changes at multiple companies throughout the city. The ripple effects created increased awareness about relationship manipulation in workplace settings and empowered other people to refuse treatment that was beneath their dignity. The most important lesson I learned was that real love should never require you to prove your worth to other people or compromise your authentic self for social acceptance. When someone shows you that peer pressure matters more than your relationship, believing them the first time saves you from years of disappointment and self-doubt. 1 year later, I looked back on that devastating night in Sophia's car as one of the best things that ever happened to me. Losing someone who was not strong enough to choose me had made room for opportunities and relationships that truly valued my authentic self. Sometimes the universe rewards courage and integrity faster than you could ever imagine possible. Have you ever been judged unfairly by people who barely knew you? Has someone you loved ever chosen peer pressure over your relationship? Share your story in the comments below and hit that like button if this reminded you that your worth is not determined by other people's shallow opinions. Subscribe for more stories about standing up for yourself when the people closest to you let you down. And please share this video with someone who needs to hear that they deserve to be chosen, especially when it is difficult. Remember, you teach people how to treat you by what you are willing to accept, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from someone who needs permission from others to value you. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope it inspires you to never settle for relationships that require you to diminish yourself to make others comfortable.